Welcome to the Switchblade Sisters Social Club. Yet another true crime podcast where two middle-aged friends exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome.
For more information, find us on Instagram and Facebook or check out our website at www.switchbladesisterssocialclub.com. Audience discretion advised.
Hi, this is Switchblade Sisters Social Club, where two friends exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. I'm Dee.
I'm Emma. Hello.
Hi. So we talk about this every time, but we've got events coming up. Still time to buy tickets. They're selling fast though. We're
Yeah.
like so popular.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so 12th, 13th, and 14th of February, sort of our anti-Valentine's Day events, Broken Hearts and Candy Beers. So come along, it's in Twickenham, be super fun. And if you come on Valentine's Day, the 14th, Friday the 14th, you get a limited edition Murder on Tap beer glass. Woo!
Woohoo!
Whoop whoop! Murder on Tap being the name of our series of events that we do at Brewery Market. Brewery Market is amazing. It's our spiritual home.
Absolutely. And the beers, even though I'm not a big beer drinker, these will turn you.
Yeah, they're always fun to try, aren't they? Like you get 4 tasters. So it's not like you're having to drink pints of beer if you're not used to drinking beers. And obviously lots of our listeners actually like beers. But they're always like really fun to have a little taster of. And Linda puts on some amazing snacks as well. And who doesn't love snacks?
Yep.
And yeah, then we tell you stories of murders,
What
basically.
more could you want?
Perfect night. So if you want to do something a little bit different for Valentine's Day with or without a partner, you know, come along. It'll be fun.
Because fuck Valentine's Day.
Fuck Valentine's Day. Who wants to go to like a cheesy Italian or for a curry where you pay like 8 times the normal price and you sit around and look at all these couples that have been obliged to go out to do this thing? Yeah, nah.
If you need one day to tell your partner that you love them, you're in the wrong fucking relationship. Like, look at me giving relationship advice.
Yes, I know. Follow us for more relationship advice.
Yes,
we're both
because we're so good.
divorced.
Yeah, so good at it.
Yep. Both technically single. But happy? Sure, why not? We got awesome dogs. We do have awesome dogs.
We've got each other. What are you
And
talking
each
about?
other. And each other. 13th is Galentine's Day, if you ever watch Parks and Rec. So come along with your girlfriends or your boyfriends.
Whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah, come along on your own. Oh my God, we should make one of them a dating night, like a singles event.
Oh my God, yeah, and people who want to date us.
No one wants to date us.
Yeah, I know. I just thought that when you said
The
it.
one thing that I've learned from putting on a form on the whole internet so that anyone can date us is that not many people want to date us. I don't know why.
I mean, it's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah. Well, we can talk to our counselor about it, I suppose.
Yeah, and we're not bitter, promise.
No. Just disappointed. Just disappointed.
Yeah, we're not angry, we're disappointed.
Yeah.
We put ourselves out there and we got pied.
Lesson to self. Don't put yourself out there. It's not worth it. Just stay on your sofa with your dog, watch your Netflix movies. Safer, better.
Absolutely.
And to be honest, the cases that we're covering on the Valentine's night kind of prove our point. Relationships are dangerous.
Absolutely. And yeah, that don't they say it's always the way when someone gets murdered, the first person they look at is their partner.
Exactly. So,
I mean, that says it all.
Stay single, save your life.
That's my relationship advice. Yeah.
New merch. I'm going to get that printed on a t-shirt for us to wear at our Valentine's Day event.
Please do, because I would love that.
We were talking just before we press record about how it's nearly the end of the season.
I can't even believe it.
I know, it's crazy. We should do a poll to ask people what some of their favorite cases were.
Mm,
That'd be fun.
absolutely.
Yeah. Did you like the sort of more old-timey ones? Do you like the grim ones? Do you like the ones we've had a couple that weren't entirely murdery? They were crimey for sure. Yeah, we should do a little poll, huh?
Yeah. Actually, someone said to me after the Trump one that I did, that I should do Elon Musk. And I was like, I don't know if he's committed any crimes, but I'm sure he has. Crime against
Yeah.
humanity.
So weird because I was thinking about doing him as well.
There you go.
So we'll have to. We'll have to. Maybe we'll do a special bonus episode.
Yeah.
I
One thing
mean,
I
the
don't understand with him, though, is obviously he's such a Trump supporter, but one of his kids is trans. So how does that work?
it doesn't. The kid is not happy with their dad, basically. It's
Exactly.
been very
Yeah.
vocal because he used to be very pro-trans for a while and then just flipped.
As he
So sad.
does.
So sad. And I remember the day of the inauguration, I was trying really hard not to freak out about the fact that we've got 4 more years of Trump, and then he did his Nazi salute. Elon Musk did his Nazi salute, and it's like, okay, I'm a freak out now because
Yeah.
it will be as bad as I thought, maybe even worse.
Did you see that the doomsday clock has gone a second closer?
Oh,
Have you heard about this?
no, tell me. We're all gonna die. Yeah, makes sense. That
Yes.
tracks.
So it's
Yeah.
yeah, at the end of world annihilation, basically, they put the clock 1 second closer. So it's like at 87 seconds now or something. I don't quite understand it. I think there's a load of boffins that look at,
Yeah.
what's likely to make the world end. And yeah, it wasn't, I mean, I have to be fair, it wasn't just Trump. I don't even know if he was factored into it, but I think
He must
likely.
be because of
And
his views on like climate change and stuff like that. So he's not
yeah,
helping the world, is he?
no,
Oh, well, that's all really
depressing.
depressing. Yeah. Do you want to tell us about some murders to cheer us up?
Yeah, and this case is particularly nasty and
Is
massive
this the
trigger
one?
warning.
This is the one that you texted me and was like, "Do you ever start researching a case and think this might be too grim, even for a true crime podcast?" All right,
Yeah.
okay. I'm gonna strap in then and grab some
Yeah, and
alcohol.
I'll see how I go, but there is like this guy is a cannibal. I'll say that to start off with. But not only humans, he started off with like pets and things. So that to me, I mean, to me, killing and eating a dog or a cat is way worse than killing and eating a human.
I put them on a par, but then I'm vegetarian.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah, sorry. So eat any vegetarians out there,
Yeah, trigger
sorry.
warning to vegetarians. There is
Trigger
the
warnings
eating
to
of,
animal lovers. Yeah,
oh,
I mean, we should do trigger warnings to human lovers, but yeah,
well, we do say audience discretion is advised in the
yeah,
intro.
yeah.
But
So if you
yeah,
don't want
okay.
to hear, if you don't want to hear about animals being eaten, etc. I mean, I know we all eat animals, but this was particularly, not all of
Yeah.
us, you don't, but this was particularly bad. So yeah, stop listening now. You have been
See you at the
warned.
next episode and goodbye.
Yeah, I need to stop doing these really grim ones. My next one's really grim as well. Yay!
My next one is fairly grim, but also a little bit old-timey and slightly ridiculous, which does help.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, this is a few years ago, but
Okay.
I mean, when I look at it, and when you suddenly realize that, oh, I got a really cool email the other day from LinkedIn telling me I'd been on LinkedIn for 17 years. I was like, what the fuck? That makes me really old. Like I've been on LinkedIn for 17 years.
That means you've
What?
been proper adulting for at least 17 years.
Jesus Christ.
When was LinkedIn invented? Did you
I
sign up
don't
on the
know.
day?
Yes, I did.
So excited about this. Register
Fuck's
my
sake.
account. Oh. All right,
So
so
yeah,
tell
I
us,
felt old. Right, yes.
what
So
case are you doing?
So this case is about a guy called Richard Trenton Chase, and he was born in May 1950, And he is dead, so that's a good thing. He died in 1980, in December 1980.
So when he was 30.
Yeah. He was, because he's dead, an American serial killer, cannibal, and necrophile.
Oh,
Grim. I know, I
mm,
told you. He
yep.
killed 6 people in Sacramento, California from December 1977 to January 1978.
Is he the
So,
Sacramento vampire?
yes,
Oh, okay, yes, this is
yeah,
grim.
that is one of his other names.
His
Yeah,
adorable little nicknames. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, um, he was nicknamed the Vampire of Sacramento because he drank his victims' blood and cannibalized their remains.
Oh,
Yeah. Do you want me to just stop now? Should we just talk shit for the next hour? I mean, we
yeah.
do anyway, but
No, no, go. But
okay,
just know that I'm gonna be texting you throughout the night when I can't sleep, and you're gonna have to send me reassuring messages.
okay, I will do. This guy's dead, so that's good. So yeah, so
Okay.
he killed 6 people within a month, basically.
Fuck, I didn't realize it
Yeah,
was like all that close
yeah,
together.
yeah. So obviously he was a native of Sacramento, California, and he was born shortly after his parents got married. He had a younger sister named Pamela, and his parents were prone to arguing with each other during his childhood. And on one camping trip to Oregon, his mother Beatrice accused her husband of having an affair with a woman hiding in the bushes. And
What?
this apparently, yeah, exactly. This apparently ruined their trip. Yeah, no shit. Um, she is also said that her husband was annoying her in bed while she was sleeping, and that he must have somehow drugged her to do this. I know. So
Okay.
I think
So
she
not the
had
most
issues.
stable.
No, I
No.
mean, what man doesn't annoy you in bed? I mean, come on.
It's kind of like what something you accept if you want a relationship with a man that you're going to be
Exactly.
annoyed.
Exactly. Not that we're man haters.
No, they just don't like us.
No. So
Oh,
it was claimed, but obviously not proven, that Chase's father physically disciplined Richard as a child, but his actions were not out of the ordinary for families during that era, because obviously this was the 50s, 60s.
spanking and
Um,
belts and whatnot was not rightly
Pretty
so,
normal.
but normal.
Yeah. Yeah. So by the age of 5, Chase was privately exhibiting evidence of all 3 parts of the McDonald triad. So I don't know if you've heard of this, but
Hmm.
basically it's a theory suggesting the development of a violent psychopath. It links cruelty to animals, obsessions with fire setting, and persistent bedwetting past the age of 5 to violent behaviors, particularly homicidal behavior and sexually predatory behavior. But somehow these didn't affect his early school life, with over 60 children coming to one of his birthday parties. I
What?
know, I know.
It's a
In
lot of
his
children.
I mean,
Oof.
I don't think I've ever been to a birthday party with that many children or
No.
known that many children, but okay. In his adolescence, he was said to be a heavy user of drugs such as marijuana and LSD. And as a teenager, he discovered that he was impotent, which prevented him from having sexual relationships with women.
Might be the weed he's smoking.
Maybe, you think. So, one of his first incidences of strange behavior as an early teen occurred. So, obviously, there was more before then, occurred when he started to believe that he was a member of the James Younger gang. So, I had to look them up. So, they were a notable 19th century gang formed in 1861 of American outlaws that revolved around Jesse James.
Oh, okay.
And the gang was based in the state of Missouri. So in like
So
this is
different
obviously,
era, different
yeah,
location.
like almost a century before. Like it's really bizarre. He even like pasted his head onto photos of them because obviously back in that day there wasn't such thing as Photoshop. So he would have literally had to cut out
Cut and
his
paste.
head and glued it on Prick Stick. it on. Um, he tried to sell these photos to people and wanted his mother to buy him a cowboy hat, but she refused.
Who the
He
fuck
would
is gonna buy a picture of your own head on someone else's body, like a cowboy's body? Who's buying that? I'm guessing no one.
no one. And I mean, why wouldn't his mum buy him a cowboy hat? Maybe because he was just being so fucking weird, but I don't
Maybe
know.
because he's spending all of his money on drugs. She's probably like, if you want a cowboy hat, stop buying weed and buy a
Yeah,
cowboy hat.
yeah. Chase would sometimes sleep in his family's lounge room, and when he did this, he would take off all of his clothes, turn the heater on as high as it would go, and then open all of the windows. Excellent. I suppose there wasn't such a cost of living at that point, but even then, that would have
No.
been fucking annoying.
Yeah.
He was described as being popular and clean cut during his high school years, but he started to become withdrawn once he entered adulthood and had a more unkempt appearance. So I actually have a picture of him when he was looking, I don't know what the proper word to use is, not unkempt. So there he is.
Yeah. Very, very preppy, happy
Yeah,
days.
yeah. The
Quiff.
nice like swish of the
Yeah.
fringe.
This is Justin Bieber-y hair, isn't it?
It is, yeah, very Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Yes, he looks
So
very, very like handsome, all-American
yeah,
young man.
absolutely. Okay, so he then got a girlfriend in high school who he began dating in 1965. In subsequent interviews, this woman used the pseudonym Libby Christopher. They were unable to have sex the first time that they attempted to do so due to his impotence, but the relationship continued. Although his continual failure to achieve an erection led to their eventual split in 1966. So she was there for a year.
Yeah.
Once graduating from high school, Chase attended American River College between 68 and 71, and his grades started declining, and he started not attending classes and eventually dropped out.
He dropped out. He was there for 3 years and dropped out. It's like, you're
Mm,
almost done.
yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
He then developed hypochondria and often complained that his heart would occasionally stop beating or that someone had stolen his pulmonary artery. Yeah, he would
Hate when
hold
that
oranges.
happens.
I know, right? Oh my God,
Yeah.
my heart stopped beating. He would hold oranges in his hands, sorry, on his head, believing vitamin C would be absorbed by his brain via diffusion. Yeah,
That's
he,
what
just walking
what?
around with an orange on your head.
So presumably, I'm just trying to think that we're talking about late 60s, early 70s here.
Mhm.
They probably had supplements.
Yeah,
You could just take a vitamin C tablet.
yeah. Well, why he thought he was deficient, I don't know.
Mhm. Okay.
He
We're getting
also,
an insight into his mindset anyways, aren't we?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. He also, I mean, this is very random, like very specific as well, like to say that your pulmonary artery has gone. And then
Yeah.
he went on to say that he thought that his cranial bones, so obviously that's in your head, were detaching and were moving around. So he once shaved his head to be able to watch this activity.
I mean, he's got some delusions here. Yeah,
Yeah.
fuck.
So he then went and got a job. Obviously, he had dropped out of college in a typing and phone answering association called Retailers Credit. And then he started that whilst he was enrolled in college, but obviously then dropped out of college. Maybe he just thought he'd earn more money. I don't know.
Yeah.
He continued to find other odd jobs in Sacramento, but was still heavily using drugs, and none of the jobs lasted long. So shortly before dropping out of the college, he shared an apartment with Sid Evans, DeMarchi, and Rachel Statham in 1971. The two found him sitting on their front lawn one day in 71 and began talking with him to convince him to let them become a roommate of theirs. Sorry, he wanted to become a roommate of theirs. So he basically barged his way in and made them. His parents gave him $50 a month to help him pay the share of the rent. Both of them eventually moved out due to his behavior. He was usually high on drugs and walked around naked in front of visitors. He also barricaded himself in his room, explaining that when he did so, no one would be able to sneak up on him. This is something that we see a lot, isn't it? Like these delusional, like people are watching me.
Paranoia.
Someone's going to come in and kill me. He then shared an apartment with the girl's brother and his friends, and they had a rock band. And he often interrupted their jamming, wanting to play the conga drums. However, they didn't want him to because he didn't sound very good.
Oh,
I know.
ouch, ouch.
Yeah. So this caused loads of arguments, and it didn't really matter to him, and he's always joined in. So then they moved out, and
He
was
scared away
unable.
a rock band.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously he was left in the flat on his own, and he couldn't afford to pay the rent on his own. In the meantime, his parents got divorced, and he was consistently fighting with his mother. He believes that she was trying to poison him, something which she had accused her husband of doing when he was a child. And during one lone trip to Utah in 72, he was arrested for driving under the influence and told his parents that he had been gassed in the local jail and he wanted to sue the police. His father bailed him out of jail and convinced him against suing the police.
For this made up weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So he alternated between living at his mother's and his father's new residence, since they were both finding it really difficult to deal with his increasingly erratic behavior. When his father kicked him out, neighbors reported that he would stand still by the property, blankly staring at it for extended periods of time.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah. But at this point, his father didn't believe that this was down to mental illness. It wasn't, I guess, at those times,
It's
it
a
wasn't
different
really
time,
known.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's quite clearly, I don't know, I feel like there's signs there of some sort of borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
Some, I mean, yeah. When you said hypochondriac, I thought, oh,
Yeah.
he's always worried about getting the sniffles. But no, he's worried people are stealing parts of his body and that his head is detaching. That's next
Exactly.
level.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, his father didn't believe it was mental illness, but rather a lazy work ethic and misguided values. In 72, his mother attempted to call the police on him during an argument when suddenly he grabbed the phone and whacked her on the head with it. She was still able to call the police, and he ran outside and jumped over the fence. The police said they could press charges against him, but she decided not to. I know. So then he moved in with his grandmother in Los Angeles, and his grandmother noted his odd behavior. He was working for his uncle as a bus driver of mentally disabled children. However, he was fired for never cleaning the bus and letting it run low on oil. All he had to do was change the oil and take it to a particular station, but he never followed through on this. So yeah, he had problems following
with authority and instructions and
exactly
functioning as an adult, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So after getting fired from the bus job, he spent most of the day in his bed, roaming the house at night. He became convinced that someone was trying to enter his grandmother's house through a window. His grandmother heard him talking to himself and also once found him standing on his head in the corner of his room. He told her he was trying to get the blood to run back down to his head. At other times, he complained that his heart was hurting and spoke of pain in his legs. During his second stint in Los Angeles, he found a job working at a paint store, but was fired within a few days. His grandmother said that both his mental state and physical appearance had deteriorated during his second stay with her. Yeah, no shit. So then he returned to Sacramento for good in the summer of 73. He began cutting out photos of human organs from a medical book and pasting them all over his bedroom. This was in an effort to understand what was wrong with him. He also called an ambulance to the house, who arrived with a stretcher that he had requested. But they refused to take him to hospital when they found he was not suffering with anything. Chase later went to his mother, begging her to help with his supposed medical conditions. She responded by getting him in contact with two different doctors. He was dissatisfied with the prognosis, so he went to see Dr. Donald Ansell. Ansell found that there was nothing physically wrong with him and concluded that he had a psychiatric disturbance of major proportion.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. Well, at least someone's like, okay, there is something wrong with you. It's not what you think is wrong with you, but there is
Yeah.
something.
It is your head, but not the way you think it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where it starts getting horrible.
Already pretty bad, Emma. Go
I
on.
know, I know.
Yeah.
In 73, he killed one of his cats when he saw a television story about a cat that had received high quality medical treatments. The story aggravated him since he believed that he deserved those treatments.
That is so fucking, that is a leap. I'm angry that this random cat on TV got medical treatment, so I'm gonna kill my cat.
Yeah.
Okay.
He then spent 2 days in a psychiatric ward in December 1973 after walking into the emergency room of the American River Hospital complaining about a variety of imagined ailments. He said he couldn't breathe, his blood had stopped flowing around his body, and he was suffering cardiac arrest. He also mentioned that he'd lost his pulmonary vein. Dr. Irwin Lyons noted in his report that he was tense, nervous, and wild-eyed, describing him as filthy, disheveled, and deteriorating, and a foul-smelling white male. They
I,
diagnosed him. Sorry, go on.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was having like panic attacks,
Mm.
because as a fellow panic attack sufferer, especially before you know what they are, you do feel like you're having a fucking heart attack. Now, I remember my first panic attack, I thought I was literally gonna die. I was like, this is how I'm gonna die.
Yeah, can't breathe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They diagnosed him with acute paranoid schizophrenia, although they said that it was possible he was also suffering with drug-induced psychosis. Ugh, this is where it's annoying. He was discharged when his mother confronted the psychiatric ward staff. In his report, the first doctor said that she was highly aggressive, hostile, and provocative, adding that she was the so-called schizophrenic mother. After being discharged, his mental health allegedly improved over the next 2 years once he started taking the hospital's medication. He was given an oxygen tank, presumably to help him deal with the panic attacks, as you said, and also added 20 pounds to his thin frame. I actually do have a picture of what he looked like. So remember
This is a
how he
really,
looked
yeah, this is a really frustrating point where it could have turned around for the better.
if his mum hadn't got involved.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a totally different person.
Yeah.
That's just like, I would, even if you put those pictures side by side, I wouldn't ever in a million years think they were the same person.
No, not at all.
I
Not
mean,
at all.
the
It's
other
really
guy
sad.
literally looked like, I think his name is Richie in Happy Days, the older brother. This guy
Yeah.
looks like almost like Charles Manson-y, like wild-eyed,
Yeah.
crazy hair, gaunt. Yeah.
Yeah. So after this, obviously he's doing better. He's put on some weight. His mum claimed that his mental state deteriorated once he started using illegal drugs again. However, his father disagreed with this assessment. His mother said that as his mental state grew worse, she would overhear him talking to himself, just as his grandmother had. According to his mother, he began to have trouble signing his own name, and on 2 occasions, he also ordered her to stop controlling his mind, with Chase later accusing his sister Pamela of controlling his mind as well. Once he
Did
slapped
the
his
mum
mother,
not bring him back at this point? Do you
you
know
would
what I
have thought
mean?
so, wouldn't you? Um, Once he slapped his mother in the face, and sometimes when he argued with her, she would just put his father on the phone, which led him to have fits of rage, causing damage throughout the house. Chase's mother would accuse her ex-husband of telling him to behave like this, sort of get your revenge. Chase
I
became
mean,
too much for either parent to handle, so they got him his own apartment.
he clearly
I
is
know.
not able to live on his own. I mean, at this point, I'm still feeling sorry for him because he has done some really weird, fucked up shit, but you could tell he did not have the support that he needed from early on.
Yeah. This is the real trigger warning point, just
Okay.
putting it out there. Once living in his apartment, he began riding his bicycle to a rabbit farm, and after purchasing the rabbits, he consumed them raw. He kept his apartment relatively clean, and his father would come over for games of chess. When his father asked him why he had live rabbits, he responded by saying he was eating them. And his father never looked into this any further, having already grown accustomed to his strange statements. In 1976, he was involuntarily committed to a mental institution for a second time. This occurred, this is fucking ridiculous, but this occurred when he was taken to an emergency room of the same hospital after injecting rabbit's blood into his own veins. His father found him vomiting in his apartment and barely able to move following blood poisoning. The
Fuck,
emergency
that's
staff,
serious shit.
yeah, I know. Like, why would you do that? The emergency staff said that he had given them a bizarre story about eating a rabbit which had battery acid in its stomach, and they had again concluded he was mentally ill. He was sent to the American Rivers Hospital psychiatric health facility, and there Chase complained of heart weakness and said that his body was falling apart. He refused to participate in any group activities, eventually being transferred to the Beverly Manor Psychiatric Hospital. The staff at this institution nicknamed him Dracula because of his blood fixation. He
That's not good, is it?
he broke the necks of two birds he caught through the institution window and drank their blood. He
Oh.
also extracted blood from the therapy docs with stolen syringes.
Oh,
I know. At least he didn't eat them.
yeah. But I feel sad. They're just
I
trying to go
know.
to work and
I
help
know.
people.
I know. So, after undergoing a battery of treatments involving psychotic drugs or psychotropic drugs, sorry, he was deemed to no longer be a danger to society. And later in 76, he was released into his mother's custody. The mental institution staff disagreed with this decision, which was ordered by the doctor. And shortly after the murders, one of the staff members told TV reporters that it was his turn to be released, and anything we had to say about, or do about it was irrelevant, adding that he thought that Chase was sick and dangerous. Another female member of staff who was interviewed said that he needed extensive care. He was not receiving as much care as he should have gotten.
That's horrifying, isn't it? It's like these are the
Yeah.
professionals that see him day in, day out.
And the doctor just went, nah,
He's been here long enough. Let's get rid of him.
yeah, this, and then it actually amazes me how much mothers fuck their kids up. This is another example of that because she didn't speak to the doctors about it, but she decided to wean him off his medication.
No, you're not a doctor.
Exactly.
Oh,
Because she didn't like the fact that it made him like a zombie.
oh.
Yeah. So then she got him another apartment.
I mean, I presume he was released into her custody because he's not capable of living on his own.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
And then he progressed from eating birds and rabbits to dogs.
Now,
Oh,
for a vegetarian, I have maybe a controversial view because I think it's very socially constructed, isn't it? What animals we find acceptable to eat and what animals are not acceptable to
Oh,
eat.
100%.
Because my Belgian grandmother used to cook for us a lot. We used to spend a lot of time with her. And so before I became vegetarian, we used to eat horse meat and we used to eat rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
Beer, battered rabbit and beer,
Yeah.
rabbit and beer sauce, fucking delicious. Like I always say, I'm not vegetarian because I don't like the taste of meat. It just, yeah. And those are two things that here in England are like much more taboo. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Although in the country, like obviously where I grew up,
Yeah, maybe
rabbit
rabbit a
was
bit
eaten
more.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, and horse meat, fucking delicious. Really delicious. But you say that to most English people and they look at you like you're Satan. So I
yeah.
get that there are some cultures where, and like also, we don't eat dogs in Palestine, but it's much less a culture where you have pet cats and dogs. So there's not that same taboo. So, it's all socially constructed or whatever. So I just think if you're gonna eat animals, then it's a bit harder to have, to be like, okay, you can eat this animal, but that animal is not cool.
Yeah. But then you're
Even
the
even
next
though I
bit.
totally agree that like dogs and cats,
But
because he grew up in the States where they do love their dogs and their cats. So yeah, but I mean, he's obviously not well. And eating the rabbits raw and infusing their blood into his, we don't do that in Belgium. Not even in Belgium. Okay, what's the
I
next
don't
bit?
even, I don't,
Oh
I
God.
don't,
Just say it real quick and
this,
then we'll move on.
okay. He,
Mm,
he purchased puppies and hanged them in his apartment. He would cut open their stomachs, drinking their blood whilst eating their raw guts. Some of the dogs he purchased were suspicious and didn't want to go with him. His neighbor said that he would aimlessly walk around the apartment complex with his mouth open, and he didn't respond to her when she said hello. She also remembered seeing him bring in dogs and cats, even though pets weren't allowed. She never saw the animals again and didn't know what became of them. Initially, he only allowed his mother to enter the door of his apartment, but he would soon not allow anybody to come in and would speak to his mother through a crack in the door.
oh, I don't like that. You're right. Yeah. But that's different. That's torturing rather than just eating.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Puppies as well.
oh, can I just give Lola a cuddle, please?
Yeah. No, baby girl.
Sorry, I just needed to hold you. Okay, I'm ready. Carry on.
I'm sorry.
Just, it was a bit much. No,
I
I don't
know.
think you should be in the shot for the rest of this because it'll be too
No.
bizarre. Okay.
There's not really any more. There's a little bit. Okay.
Get down, Lola.
I know. So later, obviously, after he'd murdered people and they started investigating it, it was discovered that he had been stopped and arrested on a Native American reservation in Pyramid Lake, Nevada. His naked body was smeared with blood, and a bucket with a liver was found in his truck, what with police suspecting that a homicide had occurred.
A
Witnesses
human
reported,
liver. A human liver.
don't think it was a human liver.
Okay.
So witnesses reported that he had had a dog with him earlier in the day, but that was never recovered. When questioned by the police at the scene, he claimed that blood was all seeping out of him and he didn't know what happened to the dog. The blood was determined to be cow's blood and no charges were filed.
Fucking bizarre.
I know.
Oh.
He
Where the
purchased a
fuck did
20
the cow come from? Sorry.
I know. So he purchased a 22 caliber pistol in December 1977 and lied about his history of mental illness in order to do so. Neighbors soon heard shooting noises in his apartment, and he had claimed that he had been shooting at voices that he heard with bullet holes found in the wall, and this corroborated his story. He continued to kill and eat dogs and would now shoot them in the head. He said this made it easier for him to collect the blood since he could put cups next to the bullet wound. After killing small dogs, including Labrador puppies, he eventually tried to steal a large St. Bernard. Is it Bernard or Bernard?
Saint Bernard, Saint Bernard.
Anyway, so he tried to kill like somebody's pet. He tried to steal somebody's pet dog and was unsuccessful. Thank
Good,
God.
good.
So then on December the 29th, 1977, he killed his first known human victim in a drive-by shooting. The victim, Ambrose Griffin, was a 50-year-old engineer and father of two. Griffin had been unloading groceries in his driveway, and his wife initially believed that he had suffered a heart attack. The shooting baffled police, who viewed it as being a random, motiveless crime. He claimed that in the lead up to the murder, he was angered by his mother's refusal to allow him to come over to her house for Christmas. She wouldn't allow him in her house since his sister had become afraid of him, following a recent incident where he'd ripped apart a cat in front of his mother during an argument, smearing its blood all over his body.
Yeah, that'll do it. That
Yeah.
that will ruin Christmas. Yeah.
And make you not want to let this person into your house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So 2 weeks after the Griffin murder, he attempted to enter the home of a woman, but because her doors were locked, he walked away. He went on to tell detectives that he took locked doors as a sign that he was not welcome.
You're never welcome.
No, but
Oh,
unlocked doors were an invitation to come inside. On one occasion, he was caught and chased off by a couple returning home as he pilfered their belongings. He had also urinated and defecated on their infant child's bed and clothing. I know.
that's just gross.
Yeah. He broke into another unoccupied house and attempted to set fire to one of the drapes. He later said that he believed that the residents of the house had been spying on him and that he wanted them to leave the neighborhood.
So
So
not
on
all of them
January,
are random. They're like he's specifically targeting some of his enemies in quotation marks. Ugh.
yeah, exactly. On January the 23rd, 1978, he broke into a house and shot Teresa Wallin. She was 3 months pregnant at the time. She had been taking out the trash, and he first shot her in the hand as she attempted to protect herself. He then shot her in the cheek, breaking her jaw before shooting her in the head and rendering her unconscious. He had sexual intercourse with her corpse while stabbing her in the stomach with a butcher's knife from her kitchen. Multiple organs were removed, including the spleen, which was completely cut out of her body, and both of her kidneys were severed. Chase moved them around, placing them on the left side beneath her liver.
Because he
He
would
then
have
cut,
quite a lot of like medical knowledge at this point from all of his obsessing.
yeah.
Oh,
He then cut off one of her nipples and drank her blood through a yogurt cup he found in the trash bag. He stuffed dog feces from her yard down her throat before leaving her house. Despite wearing rubber gloves to the murder, he made no effort to cover up the crime scene and left behind the butcher's knife. It was determined that she was still alive while some of the mutilation was still occurring, and remnants of her unborn fetus were also found. Her corpse was discovered by her husband, a truck driver who was at work when the murder happened. The husband only saw a split second of the corpse before screaming and getting out of there. He called his parents to come over and was hoping that they wouldn't have to look at the corpse, but they did eventually see it. But they did eventually see it. Police called to the scene were told that the victim had been shot and opened up with a knife. They did a standard procedure to check if she was still alive, such as putting a flashlight to her face, even though it was obvious she was dead. Her eyes were
her
open
organs
and
are lying next to her at this point.
yeah,
Right.
so I know. Her eyes were open and her tongue was sticking out. And Detective Wayne Irie saying that the terrified expression on her face had continued to haunt him over the years. He added it was a horrific homicide, not only because he had killed her, but she was pregnant at the time, so he killed an unborn child. I know, it's just so grim. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I asked for it. Um, Yeah, I can't imagine even if you deal with murders regularly that they're this horrendous.
Just the mutilation is
Hmm.
just vile. So Sacramento officer Frank Davidson remembered it in 2010. He was remembering it in 2010. I've been to a lot of homicide scenes and took a lot of pictures and done a lot of evidence, and he was the strangest I've ever seen, and that a lot of the people have ever seen. You don't have every day somebody cutting open. You don't have somebody cutting open somebody, looking through their intestines and moving their things about. Chase later told a psychiatrist that he spent the rest of the day watching television in his apartment, as you do. In the following days, he had a phone conversation with his mother. She said that he talks about rockets, spaceships, and little green men.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. On January the 27th, he entered the home of a 38-year-old. Oh, sorry. On January the 27th, he entered the home of a 38-year-old divorced mother, Evelyn Miroth, and proceeded to murder everybody inside the building. Chase said that he was only semi-conscious when this happened, so the exact sequence of events is unclear. Near the door, he'd encountered her friend, Dan Meredith. Meredith had been introduced to Evelyn through his sister and was being treated for a brain tumor at the time. Chase shot him twice in the head and also fatally shot Evelyn. Also, her 6-year-old son, Jason, and her 22-month-old nephew. Before
Um,
he then mutilated Evelyn with a knife from her kitchen and engaged in necrophilia again and cannibalism. He also cut open the organs of Evelyn in addition to repeatedly stabbing her in the anus and attempted to cut out one of her eyes. Some of the stab wounds in her anus managed to puncture her uterus. Semen was found in her mutilated anus, suggesting that he was able to get an erection and have anal sex with her in spite of his impotence. He also stabbed her friend in the anus and cut open a section of the back of his skull, so it would be easier to drink his blood.
oh God. This
Evidence
is one
suggests
of the most gory murderers, isn't it, that we've had?
it's, yeah, just so bad. Um, there was also evidence that Chase shot the 22-month-old while he was in his crib, and that Evelyn's corpse was dragged to the bed in which it was found. There was a bathtub full of blood, meaning Evelyn might have been in the bath when Chase entered the home. Investigators who worked on the case have also said it was possible that Chase was bathing in the bathtub full of blood. Whilst the
I hate
mutilations,
him.
me too. Whilst the mutilations were occurring, 6-year-old Tracy Grangard began knocking on the door since her family had been scheduled for a day trip with Jason. Chase said that this had startled him, and so he took the baby and split. 3 different knives were being used, with Chase leaving 2 behind and leaving another outside in her yard. He fled in Meredith's car with the 22-month-old body and took it to his apartment, saying that he had another blackout whilst fleeing. At his apartment, he went on to decapitate the baby and consume parts of the brain. When he was asked why he did this, he said it was because he was hungry.
We're gonna have to plaster trigger warning on this fucking
Yeah,
everywhere. I might just call
yeah,
this episode trigger warning.
yeah, absolutely. The family of the girl who had startled him alerted a neighbor who called the police. Dan Meredith was lying in a pool of blood near the door when police entered, and Sacramento detective Ray Bondi described the residence as a house of carnage and said it was difficult to look at the dead body of a 6-year-old, since he also had a 6-year-old at the time.
Oh,
He was wearing new clothes for his day trip, which he was meant to go on.
oh, that's heartbreaking.
I know. When police found Evelyn's mutilated corpse spread out on the bed, they noticed that the baby was missing from his crib. subsequently saying that they had little hope that the missing baby was still alive. They discovered that the murderer had left complete handprints and shoe prints in her blood, and due to the nature of the murder, immediately connected it with the previous pregnant lady. Police had initially been exploring the possibility that the pregnant lady, might have been murdered by one of her husband's ex-lovers, but soon abandoned this theory.
I'm just wondering if in all of his incarceration, like, because he hasn't been to jail yet, has he? He's been to
No.
facilities, but maybe, you know, you're going to tell me. I'm just wondering whether or not they would have his fingerprints at this point on record.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think they did.
Yeah.
So they then brought the FBI in and a profiler to assist police during their investigation. They went on to create their own profile, and they believed that he was a white male in his 20s and he was suffering from mental illness due to how much evidence he had left behind during the murders. They theorized that the killer's mental health issues began at around age 15 and had grown in severity over the last 8 years to the point of committing murder. Sorry.
Profilers are so fucking clever. I know that there's like various views and opinions on how efficient it is, and but sometimes you read these and you're just like, wow, how this, it's just, it mind boggles. Some people are so smart.
So another reason mental illness was strongly suspected was due to the strange nature of the crime scenes. When one of the profilers was interviewed about it, he said, "We know darn well that your normal everyday person is not going to fill a tub with water and bathe in the blood. So here we see a personality with mental illness, and we see mental deterioration." The FBI profile also said that as a result of his mental illness, the killer likely didn't take care of himself and would have a dirty, disheveled appearance. During both murders, Chase was wearing an orange ski parka his father had recently bought him, and neighbours had reported that a disheveled, long-haired man in an orange ski parka had been knocking on their doors the day prior to the murder in the house where he murdered like 4 people, asking
All of
if they
those
had
people had such a lucky escape, huh? Sorry, asking what?
if they had old newspapers.
And I mean, the fact that he's wearing an orange jacket, he's not trying to blend in, is he?
No, not at
Yeah.
all. Police used these sightings and the FBI profile to create a sketch of this long-haired suspect. Nancy Westfall, an old high school acquaintance of Chase, later told police that a man in an orange ski parka had approached her while she was shopping. She hadn't realized it was Chase at first, since his appearance had changed so much since he was a teenager. And she noted that he had blood stains on him, and also noticed a yellow crust encircled around his mouth. She said it looked as though his eyes were sunken into their sockets. When he had first approached her, he asked if she had been the one on the motorcycle when her boyfriend had been killed. Her ex-boyfriend died in a motorcycle accident while the pair were in high school. She said no and asked who he was. He introduced himself as Rick, and she soon realized it was Chase. She was shocked by his appearance and so unsettled that she locked her car and drove off when he asked her for a ride. Again, lucky
Yep, that guy
escape.
is not getting in your car. How is he looking in such a state and his mom's still not doing anything?
I know. Oh, there's Lola there.
Come here, Lola. She's cold because it's cold. Cold and
So this
traumatized.
encounter happened shortly before he murdered the pregnant lady.
Mm.
Chase was arrested after this woman came forward and they checked his background. Police who searched his apartment found that the walls, floor, ceiling, refrigerator, and all of his eating and drinking utensils were soaked in blood. Several dog collars were also found, along with rotting organs, which belonged to animals and some of his victims. He'd been reading gun magazines, psychology magazines, a book titled Psychic People, and he had circled classified ads in the paper about dogs for sale.
Oh,
For the dates of the murders that he committed, he had written the word today on a calendar, with the word today being written on 44 more dates throughout 1978. At
in the
first,
future or in the
yeah,
past?
in the future.
Oh, so those were days he was going to plan to do some murders.
44 more times. At first, he wouldn't let police into his apartment, so they loudly spoke to each other outside it, pretended they were leaving. This tactic worked, and they got Chase once he left his apartment. When he saw police, he initially tried to run from them and resisted arrest when they tackled him. He was armed, and it wasn't known whether the 22-month-old was still alive or not. So they contemplated shooting him. That's when I found out I'm not like him. Even though it would have been a good shooting, it would have been justified shooting. I couldn't kill him, and I would have been justified in doing it because the average person, cops included, are not like these people. He's a cold-blooded killer, and we aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the many reasons why I'm not a police officer, because if I had a gun and you put me in front of like someone like that, I'd be like, oops, you saw
Yeah,
him charge
exactly.
for me.
Exactly. So once he was captured, he was uncooperative with the police, claiming he had only killed some dogs and he was being framed by the Italians.
Of course.
What the Italians had to do with this, don't know. He speculated that the murders had been committed by a blonde man in an orange jacket and that someone had been coming in and out of his apartment. It would take until March 1978 for the police to find the 22-month-old decomposing corpse in a garbage bin.
Oh.
It had been placed inside a box.
Oh.
A few days after his January 1978 capture, he was interviewed by psychiatrists and only went into vague detail about his mental health history. When they asked him what was on his mind, he was not forthcoming. They rephrased the question and asked him what was on the screen of his mind, as if he were watching his thoughts on a television. And he said normal things, an exploding 747, and that he saw lights in the sky that might be UFOs, and incorrectly claimed that he was Jewish, saying he had been beaten up by gangs of Italians because of his ethnicity.
That's a very weird delusion to have, to think you're in a whole other race or religion.
I know. In 1979, he stood trial on 6 counts of murder. Due to his delusions of being a persecuted Jew, he wanted a lawyer from the Jewish Defense League, with his motion being denied. His defense attorney would end up being Faris Salami, who was the son of a Lebanese
I
migrant
was going to say, that's an Arab.
yeah, and local to the Sacramento area. While in custody and awaiting trial, he claimed the food he was being served was poisoned, and he ordered his defense attorney to have the food tested. It came back as negative. In order to avoid the death penalty, the defense tried to have him found guilty of second-degree murder, which would result in a life sentence. Their case hinged on his history of mental illness and the suggestion that his crimes were not premeditated. Salami remembered that in 2010, that Chase was the most deranged person he'd ever met, and that his case was one of mental disease. In more interviews with psychiatrists during the trial, he admitted his guilt, saying, "I didn't kill anybody, just a few people." He remembered very little from the house that he went into and killed everybody. And regarding the pregnant lady, he explained to psychiatrists, "I was sick, poisoned by iodine or mercury. I was trying to get free of poison to go and live with my grandmother's relatives. The car had broken down and I had no money, so I walked into somebody's house and killed them." I know. Chase acknowledged that he needed blood, saying he had gone to several places to get some, but was unable to. He believed that his lack of blood was preventing him from living a normal life. He claimed that blood from animals had not been helping him, and saying he couldn't cope with the world anymore because every time I tried to get up and act like a human being, I couldn't because of the weakness. I went on welfare and got in Beverly Manor, so now I've got a trial pending, I guess. He went on to plead not guilty by reason of temporary insanity. and requested to be seen by a heart specialist for his supposed stolen pulmonary artery. I know.
Did they send him to? Because they tested his food for poison.
He told the jury he was a good person but had a weak heart and mind. He also said he was afraid that his victims would come back from the dead. The pregnant lady's husband was involved in the trial, giving victim impact statements. One day during the trial, Chase's mum confronted him and criticised their German Shepherd for not protecting him on the day the murder happened. So she confronted this poor widower
Oh,
and saying their German Shepherd should have protected them.
it's
Like,
your fault because
mum,
you're
you're
hell.
fucking
I
outrageous.
still have, I mean, this, I feel physically fucking nauseous, like I could do a sick thinking about this case. But I still have such a level of like sadness for him
Yeah,
because, and for his mum, because they both clearly needed help.
yeah,
And her undiagnosed or untreated issues have spilled out over. I mean, this is the worst case of intergenerational trauma, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
He, her widower, the widower, responded to her when she'd said this by saying that she should have protected them from her son.
yes.
Absolutely. On 8th of May 1979, so I was a month old, the
Oh,
jury
baby
found,
Emma.
yeah, the jury found Chase guilty of 6 counts of first-degree murder and rejected the argument that he was not guilty by reason of insanity, sentencing him to die in the gas chamber.
Right. I
The
now
lead,
know why he only made it to 30. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
the lead prosecutor convinced jurors that Chase, whilst mentally disturbed, still knew what he was doing was wrong, and subsequently said that he knew it was going to be a difficult task trying to convince jurors that Chase was legally sane. Some doctors who interviewed Chase during the trial had come to the same conclusion, which strengthened the case against him. The fact that Chase wore gloves during the murders helped to prove that there was a level of premeditation. Salami said in 2010, he did a lot of things which prosecutors will tell you show he was thinking. He took rubber gloves with him, but he never, on the other hand, cleaned himself up. People saw the blood on him all the time. He never got a haircut. He wandered in and out of people's yards. He never seemed to be trying to conceal his appearance, which is kind of the other side of it.
Mm.
His inmates in San Quentin prison, aware of the extremely violent and grisly nature of his crimes, feared him and, according to prison officials, often tried to persuade him to commit suicide.
Oh my God.
He was described as behaving psychotically from the moment he entered the prison and was temporarily sent to a facility for the criminally insane. This was suggested by psychiatrists who said he was psychotic, insane, and incompetent, and chronically so. He was eventually sent back to San Quentin in April 1980, once he was deemed to be stabilized. He wanted to be transferred from the prison. Sorry, he wanted to be transferred to a prison on the East Coast in 1979, so he could be closer to the government and safe from UFOs. And that same year, he had also written several documents in which he blamed the murders on UFOs, the CIA, and the mafia, and airline disasters. In one of the documents, he wrote that UFO intelligence began tracking him 6 months prior to the murder spree, also theorizing that he was born as a result of a UFO cloning experiment and claiming that his mother had been secretly poisoning him since he was a year old. He wrote that he had been born with a Jewish Star of David symbol on his forehead, and this was the result of the UFO cloning experiment.
And where did it go? This Star of David.
Exactly.
Okay.
During late 1979, he was considering appealing his death sentence since he thought his life was under threat when the murders happened, which could have made his actions justifiable under Californian law. I'm
What, from
nearly
aliens?
done.
I thought
I'm,
aliens were gonna kill me, and so that's why I had to kill this whole
yeah,
family.
exactly. In 1979, Robert Ressler conducted an interview with Chase at San Quentin. A reason he did this interview was since he wanted to validate the original criminal profile he had made of Chase whilst the murders were occurring in 78. When he met Chase, he noted that he was very thin and described his eyes as being like black dots rather than normal pupils, saying they had the resemblance of a shark. In this interview, Chase spoke of his fear of Nazis, UFOs, and being poisoned. He said he was going to appeal his death sentence, and this was since he was the victim of soap dish poisoning. Chase explained to Ressler that everyone had a soap dish, and if they lift up the soap, the part underneath the soap is dry, they are fine. But if it is gooey, that means they have soap dish poisoning. When Ressler asked what the soap dish poisoning had done to him, he responded saying it had turned his blood to powder and that the reason he killed was to replenish his blood. He added that the soap dish poisoning was being perpetrated by the Nazi UFOs. And when asked...
Wait. Sorry. Nazi UFOs.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I think when you said Nazis before, I thought you meant Nazis and UFOs, but Nazi UFOs. Okay.
Nazi UFOs. And Chase asked Ressler to give him access to a radar gun with which he could apprehend the Nazi UFOs so that the Nazis could stand trial for murder. Chase again claimed that he was Jewish and said that there was a Star of David symbol on his forehead. He handed Ressler a large amount of macaroni and cheese, which he had been hoarding in his pant pockets, believing that the prison officials were in league with the Nazis and attempted to kill him with poisoned food. He wanted to have the food tested at FBI lab in Quantico, and Ressler said he would do this. During this interview, Ressler went along with the statements that Chase was saying. For example, he said that he couldn't see the Star of David on his forehead since he hadn't brought his glasses with him that day, but didn't question the statement as being false. In 1992, Ressler said, "The rule is that you stay out of commenting on the fantasy and your comments urge them to continue. So I couldn't say about soap dish poisoning, there isn't any such thing because that wouldn't have helped. Neither could I say, oh yes, I know people who have had soap dish poisoning. I merely accepted his explanation and didn't debate it with him." When he was temporarily...
What about when he said about the Nazi UFOs? Did he not even like raise an eyebrow? He was just like, okay.
Just took it.
Tell me more.
Yeah. When he was sent to the facility for the criminally insane, shortly afterwards, Ressler was supportive of this decision. No shit.
Yeah.
He also
Can I just say that, sorry, the other day we went to a nice spa, but we drove within 2 miles of Broadmoor.
Very close.
Mm-hmm.
We should have gone and done a day trip there as well.
I know. I still think we should go and pretend that we're some like high-flying developers and look at the site. They'll see us coming a mile off.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
Or
"You're
that we
true
wanna
crime
buy-
podcasters, aren't you?"
Yeah, we want to buy an apartment.
Yeah.
So obviously Chase was sent to this criminally insane place and then sent back to prison, and Ressler said that he should not have been sent back. He should have remained in the criminally insane institution. At 11:05 a.m. on December the 26th, 1980, Chase was found dead in his prison cell at San Quentin. An autopsy revealed that he had died from an overdose of Sinequan, I think that's how you say it, a drug that was prescribed to treat depression and hallucinations. He took 36 times the normal dose and had been secretly hoarding the pills in his cell, unbeknownst to the officers. He was lying on his stomach with his head buried in the mattress and his legs extended off his bunk. Next to the bed were 4 sheets of paper covered in handwriting. 2 of them contained drawn squares filled with an unknown code. On the other 2 pages was a message in which Chase indicated that he might drink some pills which could cause his heart to stop beating. Earlier that morning, an officer who had checked on him observed that he was lying on his back and breathing normally. The exact reasons for his apparent suicide remain unknown. Ressler stated in 1992 that some believe Chase's death was accidental rather than suicide, and that he had taken a large dose of pills in an effort to quiet the voices in his head.
I mean, he hoarded these pills and then took them all at once.
And
Yeah.
that is my story, and I'm really, really apologetic as to how grim that was.
It literally made me feel physically sick. You too, huh? I'm like clutching my dog because I don't know how anyone could do that to little
I know,
fur babies.
I know.
Shall we lighten the mood?
Can we please?
Can we? Okay. This is exciting because we actually have an application to date us.
By someone we've not coerced into doing it?
Yeah, someone that I don't think we even know who they are.
Oh
Like,
my God.
yeah, so let me just get the answers up. It's not someone I recognized. So, hang on. Let me just line it up. What is it, Lola? She's like, no one's applying to date you. Don't be silly. All right. So, Jane. The name is Jane.
I don't know any Janes.
She's applying to date both of us.
Nice.
She's 47 and she's from Kent. It's Mama Paka, 77. Yes. Okay. She follows us on Instagram. She's a legend. Um, what's in your fridge right now? Lots of mixers for gin, oat milk, cheese, and Greek yogurt. I'm cool
Oh,
with
love
that,
it.
right? It's good. Happy with that? Do you have any royal blood? No way! Um, favorite Ninja Turtle and why? Controversial, but I missed them first time round and also the second. She
That
must
is
have had
controversial.
she must have had like a life or something.
I know, right?
Perfect first date. Just a pub, a few pints, people watching and chatting shit. Yeah,
Perfect.
no better way to sort of see if you're on the same level with someone, right? Than just having a chill, chatty, drinky poo. Do you have any crazy exes? She's put, nope, although I'm certainly not in touch, so who knows? Um, are they crazy because of you? Could be if they are, I suppose. Not shutting that idea down. Um, weird fact about you. I'm a big walking weird fact. I've done a naked run.
Nice.
I love her. Some things you like. People and their stories, Haribo, gin, and good coffee.
Love it.
Some things you hate. Dickheads and idiots.
Love it.
Yep, yep. What are you watching on TV right now? Football, because I'm concentrating on this. Oh, at least she's paying attention to us. We like that. Last time you cheated on a partner? Never. Last time you cheated on your taxes? Accidentally in 2020, the HMRC mugged me off, I think. Any tattoos? A bow around my ankle in the colors of the suffragette movement. That sounds awesome.
Oh,
A memory locket style across my ribs. A fairy, forget-me-nots. I have forget-me-not tattoos. My husband's thumbprint surrounded by our song. A shooting star. The hand with the all-seeing eye. Think that's it. Can't remember them all. Her tattoos sound awesome.
absolutely.
Do you know how to use household appliances? Unfortunately, yes. In my feminist utopia, they would not be needed. I know. Go-to meal that you cook? Pasta if I'm in a rush, a good stew in the slow cooker with bread if I'm going out drinking and need food later, or a good old roast.
Nice.
Um,
Perfect.
yeah, she's a fucking legend. This woman is a legend. Anything else we should know about you? I own a camper van and love adventures!
Yay.
Oh, I saw a camper van on Instagram. I'm sure Mama Paka does the same thing, following like a few accounts where they, you know, convert vans or like, do up camper vans and just make them like better than my actual house. And I saw one and it was just beautiful. It was called Lola, and I was like, I've got a Lola already. Lola the dog would be cute. Um, and I was just like, I'm gonna ask how much it costs because they were like, DM me for the price, and that should have been as an indicator, right? Because this woman came back to me, and I'm not saying this is too much. It's just way more than I thought it would be, and definitely far more than I have. This camper van, this converted van was 99 grand.
I thought you were going to say like 20, 25. Wow.
Yeah, it was
Hmm.
gorgeous. It was stunning, but I do not have 99 grand.
Not to spend on a camper van.
No, Lola, we don't. Sorry, we're just gonna have to live in our house. I know. Stop nodding on me. Right, so that was Jane's application. I mean, it's an easy 10 for me.
Yeah, 10.
I'm not a huge drinker of gin, but I feel like the mixers could easily be used with rum or vodka, which I do like to consume in my belly. So
Absolutely.
I don't think that's an obstacle to our future dating.
No,
And if we ever meet her in person, I'm gonna have to ask to see some of these tattoos, which as many as she's willing to show me, because they all sound really cool.
absolutely.
Let's get a suffragette bow. I want one now.
Well, you're talking about getting a tattoo in South Africa, so
Mhm. Maybe our next season we should do people submitting their tattoos
yeah,
for judgment.
no judgment.
No judgment, just commentary.
Yeah,
All right, I like that. Let's do that.
okay.
All
Good
right, cool.
plan.
Because I know that our listeners are very dotted up. Remember when we learned dotted up,
Yeah,
prison slang? All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep now. You?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Um, you'll be pleased to know there's no animal deaths in next week's episode.
I think I'm going to stay away from animal deaths going forward.
I mean, give us a little bit of a break from them at least.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
10 years.
I think out of all of the seasons that we've done with you and with my sister, this was the grimmest.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's what it's. I love you so much.
I love you
And
too.
I love our sexy listeners. You
So much. Yeah,
so much.
absolutely.
Thanks, Jane, for applying to date us.
We love
And
you.
we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.